continue where we left off. Basically, we started at the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah and learned of a group that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the qualities and characteristics of the first group being the group of believers, which obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts with something that is a standard for every single person to have in terms of understanding your rights and understanding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rights upon you and understanding the creation's rights upon you as well. And by taking care of those, you've pretty much taken care of all that's upon you. And 24 hours a day, you're taken care of. So after mentioning those and then telling them also what's their result and for attaining those qualities, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says they will have the guidance, they will be guided in this world, and at the same time they will have success. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks of the second group. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة ولهم عذاب عظيم. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now speaks of this other group of people, and it's not like a group of people, but it's another rule that people would choose, another path that people would choose. So it's not like anyone's strict to this path and everyone's forced onto that path. All of these things are paths that human beings are free to choose from, and everyone's free to do what they want. But in the end, we will deal with the result that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says will occur when we choose a path. So this specific path, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks of disbelief. That those who disbelieve, regardless if you warn them or not, they will not believe. It seems like it's almost like a rule that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put upon them that they're never going to believe. And it's not that that's not the case where now there's no chance for them to believe. But those people who choose disbelief is they're taking a path. And when it comes to the path of, especially in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there are certain people that were very hardcore in disbelief. Not to the point where they just didn't believe in the Prophet ﷺ, or they thought that, you know what, wait, I'm doubtful about this or that. That's just a human being. I mean, even a few of the Sahaba, most of the Sahaba, the Prophet ﷺ said, you all questioned me and then you came to faith. The only one that he praised and said didn't question him was his friend Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. So it's different when there's questioning or when there's trying to understand or there's coming to him with a mind of logic and to come to understanding. That's different. Where there's certain people, they knew who the Prophet ﷺ was, and they were so adamant on their disbelief that they didn't want anybody else to get the chance to hear of the words of the Prophet ﷺ. The word kafir over here used for disbelief, but it's actually the one, there's another word that's used to be used in Arab, which is the person, when one person puts a seed under the ground, the other person comes and covers the seed with soil. That person that's covering the seed is called kafir. So this person where this types of adamant of disbelief that regardless you tell them what you say to them, they're not going to believe, is like people like the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, Abu Talib, Abu Jahl, who didn't even give a chance. Not only did they sit and did they try to sit with the Prophet ﷺ and understand, but they went and told people, I'm his uncle, I know him, don't talk to him, he's crazy. And they were so adamant on that. They had this other kind of rage that was in them, that regardless of how many times, even with all of that, the Prophet ﷺ continued to talk to all of them, and all of them would find a way to just dismiss him and not even listen to anything that he had to say. Now the Prophet ﷺ, over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is consoling him and letting him know there are certain individuals that if you warn them, if you tell them, if you don't tell them, it's not going to help them at all. Does he mention names? No. Does he mention a certain country, a certain individual? No. This is characteristics. That there are certain people, they will not want to believe regardless of what they hear. And that's for the Prophet ﷺ to understand that. But we ourselves, even the Prophet ﷺ, unless Jibreel informed them of what's in the person's heart, none of us know. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's in the heart of every single individual. So over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs them that. Now when it comes to, just because we're going to run into it a lot in the Quran, the word inna. Inna comes many times throughout the Quran, and there's a reason for it. Like in Arabic grammar, we can say, give information where we don't use inna. And that's just called an informative sentence, where you inform someone of something, regardless if the sky is blue or hey, someone is coming. You're just informing them. When the word inna comes in the beginning of that sentence, now it's more than just information, it's answering a question or removing some kind of doubt. Is it like that? Oh, wait, what's the thing of this? What's the thing of that? Then the word inna is there. So it's as if there's already a question proposed over here, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving that answer. Now, there's another level also with inna. There are certain letters that can be used, like the word lam, that puts extra emphasis, where now it addresses that there are people that are objecting to this information, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is informing them that this objection has no validity. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts with this word with inna alladhina kafaru, that verily those who disbelieve, that verily puts that emphasis and answers this question or removes that doubt, that this is, if you take on this path of disbelief, that you are not believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then one, there's different types of disbelief. Again, like I said, when it comes to disbelief, the main meaning or the disbelief is you disbelieve in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and what he came with, or a part of what he came with. For example, I can't take the Quran and say, oh, I believe in the first part of it, but I don't believe in the last part. Or I can't believe in certain aspects, like I believe in Allah, but I don't believe in angels. Because all these things the Prophet ﷺ came with. Now, the other disbelief that I was talking about, where it takes a phase where they are adamant in trying to silence the Prophet ﷺ or silence the truth and not even give someone a chance to choose. And that's all Islam is hey, here's the choice. If you want to choose, take it. If not, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will decide between the both of us on the day of judgment. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, regardless if you warn them or not, they will not believe. And for certain people, like I said, those individuals that don't have that level of understanding or that level of effort to try to understand, it's not going to help them at all. Now, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, خَتَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sealed upon their hearts and their hearing, and on their eyes there's a veil, and they will have a tormentful punishment. Now again, with it doesn't mean that, okay, these people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sealed their hearts. It's not their fault. Allah sealed their hearts, and that's why they don't believe. That's not the meaning over here. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's numerous ways of interpreting it to understand. One, none of us have any kind of idea of what's in the person's heart. You know, we talk to someone. We don't know if they're listening, if they're thinking bad thoughts of what we're saying while we're talking to them, if they're thinking good thoughts. We don't have any idea. The Prophet ﷺ, he approached Abu Jahl many times. He approached his uncle many times. He even made dua that, oh Allah, please make Islam stronger through either Umar, one of the two Umars, which in one case was Abu Jahl and the other was Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. So the Prophet ﷺ constantly made this dua, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one way informing us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's in their hearts. And it's an information not only as a warning for them, but also as a reminder for us that there are certain people, they've sealed their hearts, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is well aware of them when words are being preached to them, that are they listening or not. Like for example, one story of Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl, the Prophet ﷺ was walking, he saw Abu Jahl with one of his companions there, with one of Abu Jahl's friends, and when he saw him, he came to Abu Jahl and he started giving him da'wah towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Abu Jahl sat there and listened to him, and then he said, are you finished? He said, yes. He said, you know, if I knew you were truthful, I knew you were a prophet, I would believe in you, but I don't know, so I can't take any kind of word that you're saying. And he left him at that. The Prophet ﷺ left, and the friend that was with Abu Jahl, he looked at him and he said, oh, you know what, a liar. And to the close narration, and then he said to him that, no, that person's not a liar, that person's not a magician, that person's not a poet. But we are constantly competing with his tribe, trying to outdo them and be a better tribe than his tribe. And whenever they do, we're able to compete with them. But now, if we, as our tribe, has to accept that there's a prophet from his tribe, there's nothing we could do to compete with that. So I'm not going to accept them because of that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that even though the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained to them, and even know that he said that, if I knew if there's some kind of sign or something, I would believe in you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that He already sealed his heart. So it's as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is informing us that there are certain people, their hearts are sealed. And then not only that, but it's then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ, and even on their hearing. And the hearing, what it coincides with is understanding. That's why over here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings hearing before seeing. وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ, and upon their hearing it's also sealed. And not only it puts extra emphasis by bringing the word ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have just said وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ وَأَبْصَارِهِمْ, but to bring the word ala is to bring extra emphasis that even their understanding, to try to hear it and understand it, it's been sealed. They're not trying to understand it. They're not trying to in any way bring themselves to listen so that they can ask questions and object to what they don't understand. So over here, the only way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, another way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is informing us is that the only thing left right now is for me to force them into faith. And that's against the sunnah, the method that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this life for. It's against that. That no person will be forced in any way. Everyone is free to make their choices. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already has this creation called the malaika that are forced to do everything that they were supposed to exactly the way they're told. We have a chance to outdo them, to even be higher than the malaika, because with the freedom of choice, if we act like them, we go above and beyond the nobleness that the malaika, the angels, have. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and upon their eyes there's a veil. They're not seeing what should be seen. It's they're looking, but it's not being seen. And they will have a tormentful punishment in the afterlife. So again, we're not going too much into the meaning. The main part is what I want to talk about now is, how does this apply to us? Does it just say like, oh, there's some people that disbelieve? Yeah, too bad, man. Their hearts are sealed, their ears are sealed, and their eyes is veiled, and yeah, they're punished. Okay, that's not me. I don't have to worry about it, right? But over here, there's a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions characteristics and qualities, and not individuals and groups and nations. Because this is, when it comes to these characteristics, which over here is, regardless if you warn them or not, it's the same. The same outcome will come regardless if you tell them or not. The other thing is that their hearing, their sight, their heart, it's sealed, it's veiled. They're not able to see anything or hear anything. Even though it's right there in front of them, the truth is right there, they're not able to see that. And they're going to have a very hard, tormentful punishment in the afterlife. So these things, when it applies to faith, when it applies to Quran and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then it refers to the situation in the afterlife, that yes, they're not going to believe in this world and they're going to have a tormentful punishment in the afterlife. But when it doesn't deal with matters of deen, and it doesn't deal with direct matters of deen like faith and Quran and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it sometimes affects, and we can have these characteristics while being believers. Believers in Allah, we believe in Allah and His Rasul. We don't ever let that waver. But still, sometimes people are talking to us, they're advising us, like our parents are telling us, our friends are telling us, our elders are telling us, but it's going in one ear out the other. It's going in one ear out the other. Nothing. The result is the same regardless of how many times we hear it or who says it to us. This is a characteristic of disbelievers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connects it to disbelievers, but even can believers now not pay attention and also slowly start adopting these characteristics and other things besides the faith in the Quran and the Messenger and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are there times where the truth is right in front of us, but our eyes are veiled from it? We say in simple things, for example, love is blind. People, when they fall in love, they don't see each other's faults. When that love slowly starts to diminish, the smallest of things will annoy the other person. Friends and family will tell certain people that this person's not good for you, there's a better person, and that person will be like, no, I love this person. They'll be blind to it. And that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a good or bad thing. But this is an example of how everybody sees one reality, and that certain individual that's in love sees a different reality. Now take that into our choices in life. Well, whether we want, how we perceive school, how we perceive work, how we perceive just simple things like chores, helping around the house, helping people, talking in level of respect. You respect me, I respect you, and these kinds of things. Do we blind ourselves to it? Are we hearing advices constantly left and right that are beneficial to us, that are helpful to us, but we just dismiss it like we never heard it? Are certain thoughts that just uh, going on in our hearts, that we have this confusion, we have these thoughts in our hearts, but we're not trying to let it come out. We just let it in there, we seal it. We don't come out, we don't bring it out to a question, we don't bring out that concerns to other people, and then it starts to, what's it do? Now it's not a torment for punishment in the afterlife, because technically these people, they still believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but they make their life in this world very harsh. They start having a very hard life in this life. So these characteristics are something that are there that can affect us both in the afterlife and in this life. If it affects us in the afterlife, it's for people who have these characteristics in regards to Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But if we're not careful, these characteristics can creep upon us, and just matters in how we talk to our family, how we talk to our kids, how we talk to our parents, how we talk to our friends, and how we view things in life. And we could be making mistake after mistake, mistake after mistake, because we're not listening to the things that's being said around us. That goes for both sides, for both elders and youngsters. We have to just sometimes, and when a believer hears something, he doesn't look to see who said it. He looks to see how valuable that words that are being said, how valuable they are. And is it something that's beneficial to him or her? And when he does, he concentrates and he understands it. He first listens to it, he brings it into his heart. Then if there's an objection to a certain part, he objects to it, or she objects to it. If not, tries to increase their understanding in it. And if it's something correct, they accept it. If we start having people that, for example, there's someone that annoys me or someone that I don't like, for whatever reason, maybe they didn't do anything, but just certain people, they don't get along. And now that person says something so profound, something so nice that can just make our life easier. But we seal our hearts, it's just like, I don't want to listen to this person. Who does this person think he is telling me what to do? So make sure that this ayah over here, the second group that's mentioned over here, that yes, we don't want to be of those disbelievers in regards to the Quran and Sunnah, but we also don't want these qualities to be with us at all, not one bit. We always want to be open-minded to listen to what's being said, and then once we listen to it, we understand it. We try to, if we object to it, that's perfectly fine. To try to understand it more, we do it in a respectful way, and that's how our understanding will continue to increase. Regardless if an imam is talking to you, or a scholar is talking to you, or your parents are talking to you, or your kids talking to you, pay attention. Don't think of the next words to say before that person's already done with their sentence. A lot of times, someone is talking to us, we're just like, okay, let them finish, I got it. And right when they finish, we have our objection right away. Really pay attention to what they're saying. Even whether it's a question or a comment. Sometimes we may be given the wrong answer because we're not really paying attention to what they're saying. And sometimes their comment is not taken the right way because we already had something to say before they could even finish and we can understand what they were trying to say. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for all of us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for all of our shortcomings. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.